Welcome to Caribbean Insight. We have an explosion of Caribbean videos lined up for you. Tonight, you'll be experiencing international artists displaying the cultural rhythms of soca, calypso, reggae, dancehall, and salsa. So relax and let's take a ride down the Caribbean.
Caribbean inside, Caribbean inside, Caribbean inside, please check Caribbean inside.
I am Ras Shorty-Eye. I am a scientist, a musical scientist. I invented soca so that Caribbean people could have something to identify with wherever they go, any part of the world.
Welcome to Caribbean Insight, the show that keeps you in touch with the culture and the history of the Caribbean. I'm your host, Lady V, and I want to take this time out to thank you, my TV family, for your contributions to the program. On this episode of Caribbean Insight, we will review the life of a man whose humble beginnings, determination, and ambition to succeed has earned him his place in Caribbean and world history. TV family, Caribbean Insight presents the life and works of the late great Dr. Eric Williams, the founding father of the People's National Movement of Trinidad and Tobago. Eric Williams was born on Dundonaldson Street in Port of Spain, Trinidad on September 25, 1911. The son of a postal worker, Thomas Henry Williams, and his wife, Eliza Boswell. He was the eldest of 11 children. During the era of his birth, Trinidad and Tobago was a colonial society, and social qualifications was based on color, money, and education. While attending Tranquility Government School, young Eric would assist in the family baking business as the delivery boy. He yearned for a higher education, and exhibition was the road to secondary education. His dedication paid off in 1922 on his 11th birthday, when he entered the prestigious Queen's Royal College. Latin was one of his favorite subjects, but he would make history his specialty. During this time, he became a distinguished athlete and a young scholar.
He was not a bookworm. He played, as I say, sports, and he went on the team to Barbados. I went on that team too. I accompanied the team. I was not a player really. And one day in a soccer match, he kicked so powerfully to the goal that the ball lifted the crossbar off the uprights. It's a sight I've never seen before and I've never seen since.
Bill used to drop in very often at the house at Fitz Street there. To discuss not only cricket with me, I was supposed to be a fast bowler. And he was very anxious. He couldn't play the swing ball, you see. And he used to come down there and discuss with me, and we used to go at the back of the yard. And I could really swing the ball a bit, and I used to swing it, and he used to try to. You know, he's always a perfectionist in anything that he did.
One day in a football match, young Willie fell and damaged his hearing forever. He was made to wear a hearing aid for life. He once said, "A hearing aid is a powerful weapon against an opposition in Parliament. One can always turn it off." In 1931, at the age of 21, Eric obtained a scholarship to study at the prestigious Oxford University in England. Here, Williams excelled, obtaining a first-class honor bachelor degree and 4 years later, a doctorate of philosophy in history. The subject of his thesis was the West Indian slave trade, and slavery became the basis of his seminal work, Capitalism and Slavery. It was groundbreaking research, which proved that slavery was abolished not because of the generosity of the British, but because it no longer served British capitalism. It would change the thinking of the slave trade forever, that even today are the subject of debate and study by scholars from around the world. Between 1928 and 1955, his life was divided between teaching at Howard University in the USA, a study of West Indian affairs, and the writing of several historical texts. He was also the deputy director of the US-based Anglo-American Commission, an organization which had been set up to study the future of the Caribbean region.
Well, TV family, you are getting an in-depth look into the life and philosophy of the founding father of the People's National Movement, Dr. Eric Williams. Let's listen to Slinger Francisco, the Mighty Sparrow, as he puts his spin on this colonial situation.
Well, according to the education you get when you're small, you will grow up with true ambition and respect for one and all. But in my days in school, they teach me like a fool. They think they teach me I should be a block-headed mule. What they teach me? They tell me pussy has finished his work long ago. And then they say, born on a Monday, the ass and the lions. Then they say, winking, blinking, and you know the song? Putty Lucy tail and the alligator fighting to get monkey livers. And then bedtime stories. That's to put you on the stick. The poems and lessons they write and send from England impressed me. They were trying to cultivate comedians. Comic books make no sense. You know it is fictitious without pretense. J.O. Cartridge wanted to keep us in ignorance. We say, Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. And then he said, Goosey Goosey yonder. Somebody want ding dong del mama yo. R-I-K-K-I-T, F-E-R, kitty-kitty-kitty-kitty-tavi. And down is the man in the round. Cartridge was plenty times more advanced than them scientists. I can't believe that one man could write so much damn foolishness. Aeroplanes and rockets didn't come so soon. Scientists used to make things up in balloon. This time, Cartridge did not make a cow jump over the moon. And then he said, Tom, Tom, the piper's son stole a pig and away he ran. And once there was a woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children that she didn't know what to do. Hickory, duck. The mouse ran up the clock. The lion and the mouse, a woman pushing a cow to eat grass on top of her house. And then is the man in the van. Remember them days? How I happened to get a little education, my friend. Me I know. All they teach me is about bear rabbit and Rumpelstiltskin. They wanted to keep me down indeed. They tried their best but couldn't succeed, you see. My head was done, see, and up to now I can't read. So who the hell care about Peter? Peter was a pumpkin eater. The Lilliput people died Gulliver. When I was sick and lay a bed, I had 2 pillows at my head. And the goose laid the golden egg. Spider catching Morocco with wings flapping in the sky. They beat me like a dog to learn that in school. If my head was bright, I would not be a damn fool. With Dan is the man in the van. Can a pig, that's a G for a pig. Mr. Mike goes to school on a bike. Little boy stood in his shoes and he wondered. He stood in his shoes and he wondered. Can a pig, that's a G for a pig. Let me hear you. Can a pig, that's too early to sleep. Too early. Hey, Dan is the man in the van. I said Dan is the man in the van. Ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba. Dan is the man in the van.
Greetings from TNT. I am Tigress.
This is the original dance master.
This is Marshall Montana.
I'm Brother Valentino.
This is Marcia Miranda.
Caribbean Inside. Yes, I watch them all the time. They're bad.
Caribbean Inside really is dynamite. Caribbean Inside really super was spite. Caribbean Inside enjoy day or night. Caribbean Inside really is dynamite.
Welcome back to Caribbean Insight. And for those of you who have just joined us, we are looking at the life and legacy of the late, great Honorable Dr. Eric Williams. In 1955, following a bitter fallout with the Caribbean Commission, Dr. Eric Eustace Williams returned to Trinidad. He was 44 years old and unknown to most of his countrymen. But the bond between his life and his people was just beginning. His arrival ushered in a new chapter in the political landscape of the country. The people were eager for change, real change. They had had enough of colonial domination. On June 7, 1955, Dr. Williams declared to the crowd at Woodford Square, "I was born here, and here I'll stay with the people of Trinidad and Tobago. I'm coming to let down my bucket right here in the British West Indies." He decided to enter politics, and so he began a series of lectures in Woodford Square on topics such as economic problems of Trinidad and Tobago, race relations in the Caribbean, case for party politics in Trinidad and Tobago, constitutional reform in Trinidad and Tobago, and the pros and cons of federation. Dr. Williams declared that the only university he would teach is at the University of Woodford Square. And so the square was christened the University of Woodford Square for the education of the masses.
Williams was a master, was a learned and well-trained teacher who taught the people over the months exactly like a teacher would teach a schoolboy, so that the electorate were ready to follow him. They had implicit faith in him, confidence in him.
Eric Williams offered a change. And on January 24th, 1956, he formally launched the People's National Movement at the University of Woodford Square. This was the beginning of party politics in Trinidad and Tobago.
1956 was a turning point in local politics. It was the introduction of party politics for the first time. And it was arousing the consciousness of people who put all these advocacies of the past into some coherent thinking and moved forward from that time on for autonomous self-government. It was the 1956 advent of Williams that created it.
The Balize was the chosen symbol of the movement, and it denotes growth and fertility. Dr. Williams declared that the People's National Movement was a movement of the people, and it stirred all of us in the depth of our soul. On September 24, 1956, the party, just 9 months old, scored an unprecedented victory over the DLP, led by Dr. Reuben Jeanette Capeldew, winning 13 of the 24 seats.
Dr. Williams for taking part in that last election. Yes, thanks to Eric Williams for taking part in that last election. For many years we didn't know the amount of pressure we undergo. Eric made a move and he made us smart, and the people decided to take that to heart. So when I asked the people which party to vote in, they told me they PNM. The young and the old and all the children shouting out PNM. They say the government that we had before, they made this a corrupted land. So Big Belly, you stick your grind through your bad administration.
On October 24th, 1956, the first government of the PNM was sworn in. Dr. Eric Williams became the country's first chief minister. He also held the portfolio of Minister of Finance, Planning and Development, and the Minister of Tobago Affairs. He began a relentless drive to place Trinidad and Tobago on the road to full internal self-government. Coincidentally, it was the year that Francisco Slinger, the mighty Sparrow, won his first Calypso crown with Jean and Dinah. To Williams, Sparrow is a fellow visionary with a special touch for communicating his message to the grassroots.
Shortly after he got into power, there was a sort of a love relationship that developed, man. I mean, he made me feel important. He made me feel to get involved. He had a way of getting to you with this way he spoke, and you know, his reputation. First of all, you're so happy to know that a black man have that kind of reputation, being so brilliant, and then he's able not to talk over your head. You know, he would speak to you in the kind of language that you understand and you feel like family. If the people of Trinidad and Tobago would like the opposition to get everything for themselves, it is up to them, but I am putting it to you, ladies and gentlemen. It is you supposed to stand behind me and give me all the strength that I need and give me all the full support so that I can make things better.
As early as 1958, he had introduced the pay-as-you-earn system of taxation as a means of streamlining the financial system.
You pay as you earn, but the sparrow say you're paying to learn, and the father say he's sharpening the axe for when the collector comes to pay off the income tax.
You raise up on the taxi fare. No, doctor, no, and why the blasted milk so dear? He said, I'm going to put Black Solomon. Who don't like it, complain to the commission. None of you going to tell me how to run my country. I defy any one of you to dictate for me. I am no dictator. But when I pass an order, Mr. Speaker, this matter must go no further. I have nothing more to say.
I am the boss. What I say goes. And who backs laughs? I say that Solomon will be Minister of External Affairs. If you ain't like it, get the hell out of here.
Now, the Gums government had an entirely different form of taxation. But the new pay-as-you-earn tax system had the country shoo-shooing. And in 1958, the Calypso monarch Striker said, "Don't blame the PNM."
PNM in trouble, Lord, with some Trinidad people, I tell you. PNM in trouble with some Trinidad people. The way they influence everybody. Some think every day was free whiskey, and I have to declare, something that will be living up in the air. Now Annabella's stuck in one patching. She want the doctor help you with that. Good Lord, Johnson's trousers falling. He want the doctor help you with that. Mama, yo, some want a Zephyr motor car, others want piece of land. Now Dorothy, Lord, she want to complain to Dr. William. Tell them Bella's stuck in one patching. She want the doctor help she with that. Good Lord, Johnson's trousers falling. He want the doctor help she with that. Yes, Mama, yo, some want a Zephyr motor car, others want piece of land. Now Dorothy, Lord, she want to complain to Dr. William.
This is Caribbean Insight, your #1 step for the history and the culture of the West Indies. So don't be caught home alone. Pick up the phone and call a friend. Let them know that we have culture to lend.
It almost looks like the entire population of Trinidad and Tobago have come out here tonight to pay tribute to our great Trinidad hero, Mr. Hazley Crawford. A few weeks ago, I had the opportunity of meeting an astronaut who was about the place promoting the United States of America. Trinidad and Tobago can't send an astronaut to promote. We could send a man that no astronaut can catch because he can't go down.
Shalane Hendrickson Thomas.
It's me again, the Ivan. Hi, I'm John T.
Hi, my name is Kevin King.
This is Ramraji Prabhu. Keep tuning in. It's the best Caribbean soca program right on, and it's happening. Love you. Stay away from drugs. Love up the soca.
Caribbean inside. Caribbean inside. Caribbean inside. Please check Caribbean inside.
Taking steps to have thorough canvass and study of this particular matter. I'm giving the party an assignment for its next 25 years, and I want the Youth League to be in the vanguard.
A major issue at this time was the American base at Chaguaramas, which had been set up by the British in 1941. For Williams, this 99-year lease was a colonial imposition on the will of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. On April 22nd, 1960, thousands marched in the rain through the streets of Port of Spain in the famous March for the release of Chaguaramas and for independence. They laid a wreath at the feet of the statue of Captain Cipriani and renamed the area Independence Square. 6 years later, in 1967, the Americans pulled out of Chaguaramas, and the area was returned to the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
Was a day of all days to remember, when we marched in the red with our premium. One voice, one prayer, one cry, one call, freedom, independence for one another.
His schooling in London and his working experience in the USA gave him the first-hand knowledge of the federal system of government. As an expert in Caribbean affairs, Dr. Eric Williams was very much aware of how the big fish could eat up the small fish, and so he had a solution. He decided that a unified Caribbean would be the answer. And so he engaged in talks with Caribbean leaders on the establishment of a Caribbean Federation. In 1956, he saw his dream come true, with Trinidad becoming the capital of the 10-member federation. However, this did not last long. In 1958, the Jamaican people, under the leadership of Bustamante, threw a referendum and chose to opt out of the federation.
Well, my friends, the federation failed, and we lost a great opportunity to integrate and empower ourselves. You are watching Caribbean Insight, the only place where history is being revealed. Here is the Mighty Sparrow, 1962 Calypso King, with his explanation of federation.
People want to know why Jamaica run from the federation. Yes, they want to know why Jamaica run away from the federation. Jamaica have a right to speak your mind. That is my opinion. And if you believe in democracy, you'll agree with me. But if they know they didn't want federation, and they know they didn't want to unite as one. Independence was at the door. Why didn't they speak before? This is no time to say you are federated. No. Oy, oy, oy. When they didn't get the capital site, that nearly caused big fight. When Sir Grandly Adams took up his post, that even made things worse for them. We don't want no Bajan premier. Trinidad can be capital for them. So the grumbling went on and on to a big referendum. But if they know, they didn't want federation. And they know they didn't want to unite as one. Tell the doctor you're not in favor. Don't behave like a blinking traitor. How the devil you mean you are federating no more? Yeah, 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 yeah. Sorry, but no federation again. I think it's a big shame. After so much effort and energy put by everybody, right now it's only a memory. We failed miserably. Some may say we shouldn't help party, but the Jamaica West started. If they know they didn't want federation, and they know they didn't want to unite as one. Tell the doctor you're not in favor. Don't behave like a big figure. This is no time to say you are federated no more. Are you too? You vote against it? Well, it's your powerful. It's your powerful woman. Federation boiled down to simply this: dog-eat-dog survival of the fittest. Everybody fighting for independence, singularly Trinidad too, for instance. Well, we get it too, so don't bother. But I find we should all be together, not separated as we are. Because of Jamaica, if they know, they didn't want federation. And they know they didn't want to unite as one. Tell the doctor you're not in favor. Don't behave like a blasted paper. This is no time to say you are federating no more. Outside man.
This is Rootsman.
This is Sanel Dempsey.
My name is Winston Bailey, better known as Shadow.
This is Calypsonian Squeezy.
I watch no other but Caribbean Insight.
Caribbean Insight really is dynamite. Caribbean Insight really super was spite. Caribbean Insight enjoy day or night. Caribbean Insight really is dynamite.
Britain knew nothing of peasant farming with its large-scale capitalistic enclosures. The Civil War in America had been fought to preserve the slave cotton plantation and prevent its fragmentation into small holdings for black slaves and poor whites.
Williams, realizing that there would be immense pressure on Trinidad and Tobago to maintain the Federation, he also withdrew. And in doing so, he coined the phrase of his favorite mathematical equation: 1 from 10 leaves naught. At the end of the Federation, the road was now to independence. And in 1960, Williams declared that Massa Day is done. And he forged ahead to ensure the liberation of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. It had been a long and often frustrating battle to gain independence from colonial rule.
Marlborough House will go down in history as the venue where we planted our milestone, perhaps the most dynamic milestone along the road of our constitutional progress. We had, for instance, just before that, the Queen's Hall Conference, where a lot of views were ironed out. And then we went to London at Marlborough House seeking constitutional reform and asking for independence. There we were pitted against the best British lawyers, and Tajmul Hussain, when I say Taj, and our own Ellis Clark were matched for them, and they did a very good job constitutional-wise.
It's a great honor for us, the members of the Trinidad and Tobago delegation, to be here this morning in this historic building, taking our place long overdue in the independence queue. The steady progress to full internal self-government in the last few years has enabled the government to raise the standard of living of the people of Trinidad and Tobago to a level higher than that of many independent countries in the contemporary world. The improvement of the material foundations of our society is a necessary safeguard for the preservation and entrenchment of our emerging democracy. This will entail adjustments, economic and psychological, for Trinidad and Tobago in its relations with its West Indian neighbors to the rapidly changing world economy. The Independence Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago must therefore endow the government, which represents the general will of the people, with sufficient powers to sustain the responsibilities of independence, to guarantee continued investment from all sources, and to ensure the continued improvement of the well-being of the people.
This historic meeting gave Trinidad and Tobago autonomy over its economy, military, and the new nations its symbol of identity.
Your national flag has been hoisted with the strains of your national anthem against the background of your national coat of arms and amidst the beauty and profusion of your national flower. Our national flag belongs to all our citizens. Our national coat of arms with our national birds inscribed therein is the sacred trust of all our citizens. So it is today.
You're watching Caribbean Insight, where history flows and knowledge grows. In 1965, Sniper painted a vivid picture of Trinidad and Tobago in his portrait to Trinidad, and this is my brother Baron doing justice to this song.
Trinidad is my land, and of which I am proud and glad. But I can't understand why some people just don't give back. But I know all of them, we're running them out. Don't know what they're talking about. They will paint their black every day, and the right things they will never. Like how fast this human been rating among the best. Our sugar done stole and pass every test, and put us long like the rest. But then our pitch lake is the greatest one of its kind. Our sugar and oil is really refined. So you see, friends, this is a real King Solomon's mind. They just talk some nonsense. Me, you know what they're doing it for. Won't so much violence, man, you will swear that they're fighting for. Of course, we have with delinquents to face, but just like any other place, look, the things they don't say about here, it's really too much for me to bear, because my people are daily making progress without any form of stupidness, and in this way we must gain success. For when we move in, we all move as one body, no bickering between you and me, for our policy stand for racial equality. Now when a stranger spending a little time in this lovely island, every day you see him, he always have a happy smile. And when his time is up to depart, he will say with pride and heart, I'll be back, you could bet your life. And if I can't come, I go send. And then he tell you, he really wants her to come to drink some rum and have plenty fun in this great island in the sun. For Trinidadian, as Calypso to report, doesn't matter whether big or small, or if you're rich or poor, friends we cater for one another. Now all of them we're talking, they either drunk or they're staring mad, or maybe they're forgetting Mr. Universe belong to Trinidad. And yes, we have many talent and skill, with high hopes of improving still. And if you think all this is a lie, the sniper will tell you why. How our steel band is the best talent in this world. By Calypso's all stories are told, with rhythm to touch your soul. So Trinidad, this wonderland of my birth, small but overwhelming in words. And as you know, Carnival is the greatest worldly corner. Thank you.
May it please your Royal Highness, it is with a feeling of deep pride, pleasure, and satisfaction, as Prime Minister of the newly independent state of Trinidad and Tobago, that I offer you for transmission to Her Majesty the Queen the profound thanks and appreciation of the government, Parliament, and people of this country for Her Majesty's gracious message. We have looked forward with considerable pleasure to our entry into the Commonwealth family. Now that this goal has been achieved, I ask you to convey to Her Majesty an expression of our unfailing loyalty and devotion to her throne and person. We have been inspired by her good wishes, and we pledge ourselves to fulfill the promise expected of us, not only by Her Majesty, but by all the nations of the world, to show how our small community, with its people drawn from many lands, of diverse racial origins, and subscribing to a variety of religious beliefs, can, in harmonious cooperation, make its contribution to the sum total of world peace, world progress, and world happiness.
I'm Super Blue. My name is Gypsy.
My name is Barry Sharman. This is the Messenger.
Nobody touch the dial now.
Glenn Washington says so.
Caribbean Insight. Depths.
Caribbean inside. Caribbean inside. Caribbean inside. Please check Caribbean inside.
We're back here in Caribbean Insight, and if you've just joined us, I'm your host, Lady V, and we are presenting the life and legacy of the Honorable Dr. Eric Williams. And it's my pleasure to bring you this treasure.
He has also indicated to me that ISCOT will be submitting within the next few weeks its own proposals for marketing of its production. Underlying all of these arrangements and agreements is the fact of life, namely, that Trinidad and Tobago will have to seek export markets in the international community for the production that will come from these plants here at Point Lisa. The government, as a matter of policy and as exemplified in its sources of finance, in its sources of technology, and in its sources of raw materials, when these are necessary, has taken a decision to diversify wherever feasible in its marketing arrangements.
On the 31st of August 1962, the national flag, the national anthem, and the national coat of arms was unveiled. The flag rose on a newly independent Trinidad and Tobago. And what followed was a series of speeches in which Williams laid down the guidelines for a newly democratic Trinidad and Tobago.
The first responsibility that devolves upon you is the protection and promotion of your democracy. Democracy means more, much more, than the right to vote, and one vote for every man and every woman of the prescribed age. Democracy means recognition of the rights of others. Democracy means the equality of all in the eyes of the law. Democracy means equality of opportunity for all in education, in the public service, and in private employment. I repeat, and in private employment. Democracy means the protection of the weak against the strong. Democracy means the obligation of the minority to recognize the right of the majority. Democracy means responsibility of the government to its citizens, the protection of the citizens from the exercise of arbitrary power and the violation of human freedom and individual rights. Democracy means freedom of worship for all and the subordination of the rights of any one race to the overriding right of the human race. Democracy means freedom of expression and assembly and organization. All that is democracy. All that is our democracy, to which I call upon all citizens to dedicate themselves on this our Independence Day.
At the time of independence, Williams had told the nation that there would be no Mother India for those ancestors who came from India, no Mother Africa for those of African origin, no Mother China, no Mother Lebanon, no Mother Syria. From now on, it is only Mother Trinidad and Tobago.
The peasant was doomed, and he was doomed because he was a peasant. The peasants was the most primitive and irrational form of exploitation. A class of barbarians, uniting in itself all the crudeness of primitive social forces with all the tortures and all the misery of modern society. That's what you're going to put to your people down in Caroni? That's what pan they want? Could we make our, Mr. Party Chairman, could we make our election statement here now? Nobody going to liquidate the peasantry in Trinidad and Tobago as long as we have the PNM on board.
At the time of independence, William remarked that two races had been freed, but the society had not yet been formed. Williams then embarked on an intense drive to form a society that was fully in control of its destiny. He also insisted on an education system that would touch every child in Trinidad and Tobago. Dr. Williams declared that the nation's children carried the future of Trinidad and Tobago in their school bags. The next year, 1963, Dr. Williams embarked on a Meet the People tour, traveling through the length and breadth of the country to determine the needs of the people. He also made a bold move to acquire the British rights to BOAC, now BWIA.
Ladies and gentlemen, in asking Lord Tweedsmuir to accept this document, I would just like to say to him that our check testifies at one and the same time to the stability of the economy of Trinidad and Tobago and to our readiness to assume the responsibilities of self-determination.
By 1967, the number of children attending school had more than doubled. The colonial child was giving back to the society which he said had educated him free of charge for 9 years.
When PNM took over its national responsibility in '56, there was virtually nothing to work. The key to popular discontent was the inaccessibility of the secondary school and the small number of secondary school places for which high fees were charged. The root of the problem was the college exhibition. In 1956, there were just under 3,000 candidates from a primary enrollment of 153,000 and 236 exhibitions, 1 out of every 12 candidates. And the candidates were 1 out of every 50 in the enrollment. PNM at once raised the number of exhibitions, as you would recall, so that in 1957 we had 401 exhibitions for 3,200 candidates, 1 out of 8. By degrees, building secondary schools, first junior, then senior, then comprehensive, government and denominational, and introducing the common entrance examination to relate free places to available school places, we had the situation in 1980 where there were 28,500 candidates in common entrance places for 18,600, 2 out of every 3 candidates.
By 1980, Dr. Eric Williams awoke the consciousness of the children of this new nation. There were more children in schools than ever before. But this is the 1980 Calypso monarch, Willard Harris, the relator, saying that Eric Williams should take a rest.
No light, no telephone, and no water. We in the middle of a big power failure. I am sorry, but the breakdown is governmental, and it's because of fatigue, physical and mental. It's useless that we continue to blame a horse that is tired and almost lame. If government can't cope nowadays, the nation could send them for holidays. Now this is not an overthrow. I am saying that we must kick them out just so. So please don't jump to any hasty conclusion and cause any confusion. But they're exhausted from working too long, so before they suffer from a nervous breakdown, as a loving nation we all could now suggest that Dr. William and the PNM take a rest. Since Dr. William took over the nation, I can't recall he went on vacation. In the last decade, I heard him repeat that he's willing to take a back seat. So read between the lines, friends, and understand that these are the words of a tired man. So the next sensible thing to do is for the people to say a hearty thank you. So this is not an overthrow, but if they're tired, I don't see why they can't go. And all who feel that I am anti-PNM, well, I have some news for them. You see, all of them who don't want him to go, they get accustomed to the free Kokioko. But I suggesting a nice rest now for the dog before the poor man drop down on the walk. I say put a next party in power and give PNM a chance to recover. Let this UNC know that they can't be slack, that PNM on holidays and they coming back. And if they perform up to satisfaction, we can even give them an extension. I don't intend to incite trouble, I just suggested a democratic reshuffle. So you see, this is not an overthrow. I am saying that we must kick them out just so. So please don't jump to any hasty conclusion and cause any confusion. But they exhausted from working too long, so before they suffer from a nervous breakdown, as a loving nation we all could now suggest that Dr. William and the PNM take a rest. Remember, it was under the guidance that we achieved independence, along with free secondary education and an increase in old people pension. But morality in public affairs was replaced by corruption in recent years. And then the word started to spread around that Dr. William no one still encouraging wrong. So Dr. William, please make haste. I am suggesting that you now bow out in grace, because I heard it and I don't like the rumor that you are a backseat driver. Like Muhammad Ali you should go, and not like Gary Amin or Ali Bhutto. Don't allow history to record you as a flop. I am suggesting that you quit while you're still on top. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, Willard Harris said the man was tired and he needed to take a rest. Who knows? Maybe after all this hard work. You're watching Caribbean Insight. Don't touch that dial. I'll be right back with much more.
Black labor of one continent was substituted for the red labor of another continent for the profit of white masters living in a third continent.
Hey, this is Ronnie. This is Ronnie McIntosh.
Highest brother resistance.
I am Ras Shorty Eye.
I make sure that I watch Caribbean Insight.
And so should you.
Caribbean Insight really is dynamite. Caribbean Insight really super was spite. Caribbean Insight enjoy day or night. Caribbean Insight really is dynamite.
1981, the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago went into mourning. Prime Minister Eustace Eric Williams was dead. For many, it did not seem possible. It did not seem possible that a man who was part of the consciousness of a people for more than 36 years was no more.
The saint, the philosopher, the guide, the pioneer, and the real architect of the new Trinidad and Tobago, and the sterling contribution which he has made to the development of this country, to the Caribbean, and to the world at large.
Some insisted on evidence of his death. And so a great leader was laid to rest. But his ideology lives on in the children of Trinidad and Tobago. I am testimony of that doctrine, and I have no regrets. I hope you enjoyed the past hour. And to you, my fans and critics, I'll see you next week, same time, same place. God bless you all.
They say my country so stressful, so tense. With race, hate, young jailbait, too much violence. You'll pack up and go, leave sweet Trinidad. I tell them no way. No way. How the people small-minded, my cautious and loud. Of ball and scandal, they boastful and proud. Yet somehow I see all this foolery as window dressing. There's still a blessing. You see, I just see Tokorikyu, bees, rice and cascadu, you crab and callaloo, me never just hear me. Not leaving, not leaving. Me never string so deep and freedom no country. Where else in the world you know sweet pan and calypso? People just overflow 2 days in the street. Not leaving, not leaving. It's here where conceive me, it's here I go dead. I see a people creative who must overcome. Make magic from old steel, from rusty oil drum. So why should I fear some tears here and there? I tell them no way, no way. Camaraderie so special like natural instinct. They meet you by the river, is come take a drink. Outspoken but kind, no silent bad mind. So forget New York, I know the old talk. You see I just drink some Babash Blue, munching rum and Mountain Dew. A hot plate I pale out to me, Macone just give me. Not leaving, not leaving. Me never string so deep and freedom no country. Where else in the world you know jump high and wind down low? If you don't get on so they watch you see me. I'm not leaving, not leaving. It's here where conceive me, it's here I go dead. They say my country so stressful, so tense. With race, hate, young jailbait, too much violence. You'll pack up and go, leave sweet Trinidad. I tell them no way, no way. How the people small-minded, my cautious and loud. Of ball and scandal, they boastful and proud. Yet somehow I see all this foolery as window dressing. There's still a blessing. You see, I just see Tokorikyu, bees, rice and cascadu, you crab and callaloo, me never just hear me. Not leaving, not leaving. Me never string so deep and freedom no country. Where else in the world you know sweet pan and calypso? People just overflow 2 days in the street. Not leaving, not leaving. It's here where conceive me, it's here I go dead. I see a people creative who must overcome. Make magic from old steel, from rusty oil drum. So why should I fear some tears here and there? I tell them no way, no way. Camaraderie so special like natural instinct. They meet you by the river, is come take a drink. Outspoken